The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Acuma, its board of directors, its management staff, or its members. The podcast discussion presented is conversational in nature and for general information only.
This is Acuma's On Point podcast. On today's episode, we'll dive into the power of consistency and how small actions create big results. But before we get to our episode, just a quick word from our sponsor.
This episode is sponsored by Exactus. Exactus is an exclusive Acuma service provider for credit reporting, verification services, and flood determinations. They are advancing the modern mortgage as the leading verification innovator in the industry, serving over 6,500 clients, including hundreds of credit union mortgage lenders. Exactus delivers a spectrum of solutions ranging from pre-application to post-close. These solutions can be seamlessly bundled to improve cost controls, enhance efficiencies, and consolidate vendor management. Committed to excellence, Exactus supports Acuma members with its best-in-class service, including a dedicated account manager.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello and welcome to Acuma's On Point podcast, a series focused on sharing the stories of people who are making a positive impact in the credit union mortgage industry. I'm your host, Peter Benjamin. Today, I am joined by Rebecca Lorenz, CEO and founder of Infinite Success Strategies. Rebecca, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me here.
Of course. Now, Rebecca, looking forward to the conversation. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about the power of consistency and how small actions can create big results. Really looking forward to this one. It's, this is something that when you propose this as the conversation, I immediately said, yes, absolutely. Nail on the head. You really called this one as the right topic for us to talk about. It's because little things do add up to big results, but they can also have negative results as well. So looking forward to this one. But as always, before we get to it, Justin the Hawk, welcome. How you doing, buddy? What is the latest and greatest happening over at Acuma? And how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you? You tired still?
Tired. Trying to muster up all the energy I possibly can, but I'm doing good. Living the dream.
We just had National Coffee Day not too long ago. So hopefully you got your coffee and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, so over here at Acuma, we just got back from annual, which explains why Peter and I are just a little exhausted. But we were in Denver. It was amazing. If you didn't come out and join us, you missed an incredible event, and we are sad to not have seen you. But if you were there, you already know. It was awesome.
It was.
How about that after party?
The
pre-show after party on day one.
After party is the pre-show the day one Sunday night after party. That's not really an after party, but we're just gonna call it an after party because we have nothing else to call it.
You know what? At this point, it's got to be a running joke. Like we're just so bad. We came up with the after party before the party was even started.
I mean, the good news is next year we already figured out something else to call it. So,
I know. You have to wait and see what that is.
I know, seriously.
No secrets.
I'm counting 1, 2, 3. I guess at this point in time, they have to wait, 5 months?
Yeah, they got to wait a little bit.
All right, there you go. All
right. And then coming down the backstretch at the end of the year, we sadly don't have any more in-person events, but next year's events are on Acuma's site now. So if you're curious and you want to book those dates on your calendar, please head over to the Acuma site. And in the meantime, there's still plenty of opportunities to take advantage of. We have our network meetings. So this month we have our marketing network and our servicing network have their Q4 meeting. So stay on the lookout for more information coming on those. We also have some Inside Track webinars and our favorite On Point podcast episodes.
Awesome, bud. Thank you very much. Stick
Thank
around.
you. Mm-hmm.
All right, Rebecca.
Yes.
So turning our sights onto you. Love the conversation today. But before we get to it, let's focus on, I have to stick with the two main questions I always start with, and this is, and I honestly, and maybe this first one will lead to the main conversation. Right? The second one is more of a closing question, so I'll save that for the end. But the questions I always ask everyone at the very beginning is, who is Rebecca? And I think that's the most important thing, because there's a lot of things that make us up, right?
Right.
This podcast was originally started as an idea that there are these amazing people across our industry that, especially on the credit union side, that are doing these amazing, wonderful, special things that we need to highlight to show that, hey, credit unions are doing fantastic things. And it's really evolved into highlighting people from across the industry, people who not are just in the credit union industry, but people who also support the credit union industry. But there might be people out there who may not know who you are. So that's really the first question. So first question is, who is Rebecca? So if you could, let's dive into that.
Thank you. That's a great question, because when I think about that, it's, who am I today? Who is Infinite Success Strategies? And I think for all of us, which is kind of leading to that topic, is who are we becoming and what does that look like? And so from a personal perspective, those that do or don't know me, I'm a 26-year mortgage industry veteran, if you will. Married, I have 3 kids, and founder of a company that offers impactful sales training. We do keynotes, we do one-on-one coaching. And if I left any kind of mission in life, it's to leave those human interactions better than I found them, right? Any person that I meet, I'm hoping I leave that conversation, that relationship, that keynote in a way that some small way I'm touching each person, that they have a takeaway and their life is better for it.
No, that's great. That's awesome. All right. And I think that kind of spells out why you're such, the perfect person to have this conversation with, the power of consistency, and how small actions create big results. And I know I kind of keep saying that long-winded, subject, because I was trying to be consistent, because in order for you to get to that point where you are consistent, it really does take you to do 100 different small things in order for you to get to that point where you are able to be consistent with that habit. And so I'd love to get your viewpoint on this, because now more than ever in today's modern mortgage industry, and you could frame this up in, from the market standpoint, you could frame it up from a regulatory standpoint. You can really frame this up however you so choose.
Mm-hmm.
But the mortgage professional today is not the mortgage professional that was 5 years ago, right?
True.
And that the mortgage professional that was 5 years ago is not the same mortgage professional that was 10 years ago. So we'll say 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we, continue to evolve as an industry where we can consistently see results in an ever-changing industry? Because we have to form those habits, right? That make us successful. So in your viewpoint, what are those things? Like what is that? And how does it create such a meaningful, long-lasting, positive impact for everyone?
Well, and I love that you use the example of, the industry isn't what it was 5 years ago. As originators, we're not where we were 5 years ago, because that's a great segue, or kind of a bridge, I like to say. Think about who you were 5 years ago. Those small, consistent habits that you did is why you are where you are today, the production you're doing, the habits that you have, probably even the health, the relationships, the prosperity, everything that you are today is because 5 years ago, maybe even 1 year ago, you started doing some consistent habits. And so sometimes I'll have coaching clients pause and say, well, where do you want to be in 5 years, right? Where do you want your production to be? Where do you want your relationships to be, your health to be? Because I think goal planning is really important. And we get caught up on that. We're going into business planning time of the year. I love business planning. I think it's a time to dream. You've got to have those goals out there. It's like you're a ship, right? You're the captain of that ship, and you've got to stay on course to reach those goals. However, if someone tells me what their goals are, like, oh, I want to do 50 million, I want to do 10 million, high five, way to go. But the real indicator is when they tell me what their daily and weekly habits are. Those things they're doing consistently over and over again that really tell me how they're going to show up and where they're going to be maybe a month, a year, 5 years from today, and realizing it isn't those big goals that you've got. It's saying, what do I commit to today? That those consistent habits that are going to impact, if you've read The Compound Effect by Jeff Olson, what is that ROI that I'm getting on everything I decide in component of who I'm becoming?
I was looking at my bookshelf. I have it somewhere between one of my two bookshelves. I have it somewhere. I was just quickly glancing over, see if I could pull it. And so, I love that you said that, because, and I'm if it's okay, I'm gonna ask you to kind of dive in, right? And let's use this as an example. So let's say you have an originator that you're talking to, and they say, okay, I want to be a $50 million producer, right? I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. And, it's, I don't really have a schedule, but when it comes to my daily routines, but that's what I do. Right.
Right.
That right there in my mind, I would already pick it apart. Right.
Absolutely.
But so just knowing that, like, what are some of the key points or key things or points of advice that you would say, or these are the little things you can do to tweak your day to kind of get you to, it may not be 50 million year one, but it could get you to 20, maybe 30.
Right.
Heck, let's just get you to 10. Right.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the small things that originators, or it can really be anyone, it can be a processor, it can be an underwriter, just the small habits that someone can do to really get to that point where they are seeing that success?
Well, and just seeing, looking from a sales perspective, that seems to be what I love to dive into, is they show up, right? An originator shows up and says, hey, I have a goal. It's tied to my why. 50 million is the number. And let's say they say I'm at 5 today. Or we have newer originators coming into the industry, right? What do I need to do to go from my current reality to the life I dream about, the production I dream about, and I'm getting up at 7? It really starts by saying, what are those consistent habits? And so if I had to select like the top few, or the low-hanging fruit, if you will, it's connection with your database. And one of my favorite things I like to say at any keynote is talking to the audience and saying, hey, how many of you, if I asked you, we went to lunch and I asked you, are you a relationship-based originator or are you transactional? How many of you would raise your hand and say, I'm relationship-based? And as you can imagine, Peter, every hand in the room goes up. And then I'll say, how many of you are transactional? And rarely does a hand go up because nobody wants to admit that. But then I ask the follow-up question and I say, how many of you are talking to those in your database at least a couple times a year? And less than 10% of the hands go up. And so then I kind of lead into the consistency and building relationships. If we want to talk consistency, just focusing on relationships, how could you be a relationship-based originator if you don't talk. Talking communication is part of a relationship. And so one of the biggest things is talking with those in your database. Okay, I'm going to call on birthdays, I'm going to call on loan anniversaries, and I'm going to do a mortgage review. 3 touch points for 3 live conversations every year. For me, that's running an intentional business. There's a lot in our industry, all industries, real estate, financial advising, that run their businesses on accident. They're winging it. They show up at the office at 9. They hope their phone rings. They busy themselves. But being intentional, I mean, just that, if we talked low-hanging fruit, being intentional on talking to your database, building the relationship, offering value, is where I see a 20% increase in production at a minimum by honoring that consistency. And that's just one, right? There's a lot of branches off this tree.
No, I think you're spot on with many things, but if we focus on just that regular touch point, right? And it's not like we're saying that it's a hard thing for us to do. There's technologies that can support that, right? Mm-hmm. The modern CRM, we'll say, is the easiest.
Absolutely.
That can create trigger leads for that, or triggers to remind you. But if you have to go a little bit more basic, I mean, just utilize your Outlook calendar.
Right.
I mean, that's half the battle. I mean, schedule something throughout your Outlook. But, for me, it also goes back to, let's say you do have that loan officer who wakes up at 7, gets to the office at 9. How's that even enough time in the day to do the things that you have to do to be successful?
Well, if you asked any top producer, they would say that's impossible, because at what time of the day in general do we start losing some control? And most would say, and I keep doing polls on this,
9:30.
9:30, 10. Right. You got it. Right. So if you're getting in at 9, you've got a problem.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But also in today's industry, it's just not about maintaining what you currently do or the relationships. You also have to be able to stay on top of things too. Like, you have to know what's happening in that market. You have to know what's happening in your local area. I mean, there's so much stuff you have to just do that the loan officer 10 years ago really probably could have gotten away with, right? Maybe, right? Granted, there was a lot more, $100 million producers 10 years ago than there are now.
Right.
But there were also a lot more $50 million producers back then as well. So I'd like to think that things that you have to do today to stay ahead, that list is 10 times longer. And so how are you going to do that if you're not diligent every single day with your usual routines, right?
Right. Well, and leveraging technology. I mean, sales skills and the skill sets we're developing are impactful and they're important. But if you're not leveraging technology, I mean, one thing I say a lot to those that we're working with is it's not unreasonable for 50% of your referrals to start coming from your database if you're working it and not winging it. You've got great follow-up. You're building relationships. You're talking to them during their relationship. And that one closing, let's compare it to fishing, right? That one closing is great. That's one person, maybe 2. You're fishing, you close one loan. But is there more abundance or more opportunities than we're seeing today? 100%, because of that one, customer, that one member that closes, they know 5 to 6 people every year doing something in real estate. I mean, that's where abundance is created. And when you're consistent, you unlock that abundance. I mean, I get excited about it.
All right. So I want to ask you more of a, direct question as it relates to credit unions. And obviously I'm going to focus on originators. So typically when it comes to credit unions, there are 3 different schools of thought when it comes to originations. You have the traditional loan officer, which is I'm going to beat the streets and I'm going to drum up my business. And let's say that's probably only about 10% of credit unions do that. Okay.
Right.
The traditional beating the street, 100% commish, they're true hunters, 10% do that. Others, and this is probably the majority, and I'll probably say 60% of credit unions are some form of hybrid of that. A portion of their day is spent hunting, but the vast majority of their day is really just managing the normal portfolio and or managing current members, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the remaining balance, the remaining 30%. That is 100% retention. That I don't want to say a consumer direct model because it's not just refinance.
Right.
Because it is also very much purchase focused, but they're definitely a call center set up. Obviously, it's a different mindset for each, right? But I don't necessarily want to focus on the true hunters. I want to focus on the people who are in that hybrid role or that call center role.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, that almost seems transactional in both situations. How do you get someone who is transactional or maybe even forced to be transactional to take the small steps to start building those relationships? Because there has to be a way, right?
Great question. This will be fun to brainstorm, and we might have to take it offline if it goes too long, but there is so many opportunities. And I think number one, directly to your question, is if my job is to call members, support them on their mortgage needs, rinse, repeat, right? One of the things that I think is highly important is during their loan journey or their loan process is once a week, that dedicated call day. Now, am I talking to them during the entire process? Absolutely. There's the milestone updates. There's the quick calls about, paperwork. But one of the things I do is say, hey, Susie, calling. I want to let you know that we're going to be working together over the next 30 days. I'm going to be calling you with milestone updates, but I'm also going to call you every Wednesday between 10 and 11 a.m. And I know we're going to be talking other times, but this time is dedicated for us just to touch base, check in, see if you have any questions for me, and make sure that I'm really hearing anything that you need from me. Would that be okay? What's the best number? I call Susie every week. And so Susie now doesn't just see me as a transactional support. We have a relationship. I'm asking, hey, how's the family? How are you? How are things at work? Just wanted to touch base. It's 3 to 5 minutes and I'm moving on. And so you're building that relationship during the loan transaction, during the loan journey. I think that's number one to your question, Peter. I think it's those weekly touch points. And it's not just to the member, it's to the agents. I'm calling the listing agent once a week. Hey, wanted to touch in, let you know I'll be calling you once a week, giving you a quick update. And behind the scenes, you know what that does? It shows you can trust me. I'm consistent. And if I'm going to call every Wednesday between 10 and 11, I'm probably going to have to really leverage the consistency of my time management to make that happen.
It's so I love that, and it's and you said something that I was always good at for some strange reason, and it was getting people to open up, getting people to when I did originate, it was having personal conversations with them, getting to know them. When my first question, and Justin's heard me say this, but the first question I always asked someone whenever I got on the phone with them was, "Tell me about your hopes and dreams," right? And they would tell me everything. Well, we've got a family. We're trying to get a larger house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But a lot of credit unions, and I could see this, if you're in that call center role and you're really focused on transactional, And it's yeah, you may have those weekly touch points. But how do you get them to that point where they're comfortable with humanizing the transaction? Because that's not that easy.
Right. I think it's exact, and I love that that's what you did, and that's a skill set that can be taught. And we have this misconception for some reason that you've got it or you don't. Well, guess what? It's just a learned skill set. I mean, 80% of those in sales have call reluctance. Let's just put it out there. And if 80% of those in sales have call reluctance, we have to talk about that because it'll feel like a transaction to both ends of the phone if we don't. Picture the word frog for me. FROG. And picture as an acronym, put a period between each of those letters. If you follow that, because I say this a lot and I mean it from my heart, it's not about you, it's about them. F, if you don't know what to say, this is going to add maybe a minute or two to the conversation, but it'll transform the relationship and it transforms the conversation. F, hey, how's the family doing? It's such a, how are things with the family? Did you guys, R is recreation. Did you have a fun time this weekend, Peter? Or maybe it's Friday, right? And I'm like, hey, Peter, do you have any fun plans for the weekend? Or O, occupation. Hey, Peter, how are things at work going? Gosh, how long have you been originating now? G is goals. You know what? I know we're talking about this investment property. Let's just stop here for a minute. So I really understand your short and long-term goals. If you had a magic wand and you're picturing retirement down the road, how many homes for investment and for retirement would you love to own someday? So I don't have to know what to say. And even if I'm not comfortable to start, guess what? I have an acronym that I can follow. And Peter, you're great at this, so you can see this. What comes out when you're saying, how's the family? You hear about pain and pleasure in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm engaged, I'm married, I'm getting divorced, we're having a baby, we're empty nesters. And there's this old saying that really kind of stuck with me. I heard it about 20 years ago. If someone has a change in their life, like those things closest in our life, our family, our friends, our hobbies, if there is a change in someone's life, there is an 80% likelihood it will impact their real estate. So maybe I just need to ask how life is going in a really comfortable way and be comfortable doing it. Does that make sense?
No, no, that was so perfect. That was fantastic. And because you're right. I mean, given the opportunity, people will talk about themselves, right? You just have to ask.
Yes.
I think, but getting to the point where you are comfortable doing it is, I hate it's going to sound stupid. That's a you problem, right? So, I mean, you have to overcome that if you're going to build the relationship with a person, because in my opinion, that is the one thing that, again, my opinion, I'll probably get some backlash from this, but oh well, like I'm due to get backlash at some point. That's probably the one thing that kind of sets credit union originators apart from other non-bank lenders, is that non-bank lenders are really good at building relationships. They're really good, especially the ones that are $50 million producers.
Mm-hmm.
They're fantastic at knowing the families and, learning that little Susie played soccer. And so all of a sudden, at closing, little Susie has a brand new soccer ball at the closing table, right? Like, they're really good at those little things. I mean, credit unions need to have those conversations so they can listen. One, because that simple question I used to ask, tell me about your hopes and dreams.
Right.
Half the time when they would tell me that stuff, they would just spill their guts. I would have half the information I would need to complete the application. So my job was halfway done, right? I would just take some quick notes, right? The other half was, okay, well, now I can start really thinking about the loan to put them into. Okay. the actual, not just a 30-year fix, not just an arm. Are they better for FHA, VA? Who knows, right?
Right.
Or should they do an 80, 15? Who, like, that's the most important thing of really starting to have a true conversation with somebody. But again, it's interesting. Justin, you came off mute. Were you going to say something?
Oh yeah. First off, I've never heard this frog concept, and I absolutely love it. And everybody should just have a poster in their office that just says frog.
Yes.
Just as like a constant reminder, because like that, I don't know if you came up with it on your own, Rebecca, and if you did, that is brilliant.
There's a few acronyms out there, but
Well, I like yours.
Frog is my favorite. And the reason it is, Justin, is because if those in sales are not reaching the goals they have because they're not having conversations, whether it's limiting beliefs that that's not what I do in a call center, or it's limiting beliefs of I'm not good at that, or I'm not great at communication. Those are just limiting beliefs. And instead of saying I have to get better, guess what? You get to get better at connecting with people. It will change your business and you can show up differently. I mean, that's the great thing about being a human. You can show up differently tomorrow than you did today. Like that, it's a mindset choice. I mean, that's amazing.
That goes to another conversation we were having recently with Peter on one of our other episodes about you get to choose every day who you want to be, something like that, right. Peter.
Yep.
There you go. So
right.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that thing though.
Right,
I'm so glad.
Justin, you're gonna make some Acuma frog.
I know, right?
Posters.
Yeah. Well, maybe a T-shirt. Like the front, feeling froggy or something
send me
like
that. Well, you know,
let's sleep.
One of my favorite quotes really ties into this, and I have to share it now. I didn't know I was going to, but it's by F.M. Alexander. And it says, people do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. You don't get to you can't just talk about all the time about what you're becoming or what you are, but guess what? Decide the habits you're going to do, right? It's like what we do repeatedly. That's who you're becoming. And how do you decide today? I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, right, and you're saying, I want to take one thing away. What's that one thing you want to change about your life? You want to change about your business? Define it and then tie it to a daily habit. You will be blown away at the results.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very similar to the Aristotle quote.
We are what we do.
We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit.
Right. And if you've read, I mean, all these books really are telling you, whether it's the compound effect, if it's the slide edge, if it's atomic habits, this is a real gift we get as human beings for that one big, bold, beautiful life. Decide how you're going to show up. Decide how you're going to build relationships. Sometimes, and I'll say it, and I hope I don't get backlash, is sometimes there is so much opportunity around us that it just takes one small decision. I believe every originator out there could have more market share if they just tied their habits to their goals more intentionally.
I love it. Well, Rebecca, it's time for us to start transitioning. But before we do, that second question. The second question is, and I think it ties in perfectly to this topic. So perfect. What keeps you going? You're just like everyone else. Yes. You wake up and you put one foot out of bed every single morning and you have this drive to keep pushing forward. What keeps you going?
What I do every day, from how I show up to how I live the day, is tied so closely to my why in life that I honestly say it, not from a cheesy standpoint, but I'm living my why. When I can work with an originator that's thinking of leaving the business because it's so tough and help them develop those habits and skill sets, and guess what? They show up, they're making more money, they have more production, they have more balance to their day. and they love life again and they're creating like massive generational wealth. I don't know if there's anything better than that. I mean, that's what it's about for me. So that's what keeps me going.
That's awesome. Awesome. Love that. Well, Rebecca, now it's time to transition to the second segment of our podcast. Now, sometimes we play Jeopardy. Sometimes we do trivia, just random trivia. Today, we're doing the most requested segment of dad jokes. So I asked you prior to come prepared with 2 to 3 dad jokes. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go around. You're going to do 2 dad jokes. Justin will do 2 dad jokes, and I'll do my 2 dad jokes. We keep that third one in our back pockets just in case one falls completely flat. But after that, we'll just completely wrap up and we'll go about our day. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. So you're up first. Tell us your 2 dad jokes.
All right. I had to look up dad jokes because I am not a natural dad joke giver, but I will be now, thanks to both of you. Why can't you give Elsa a balloon?
Because she'll let it go.
Oh, you knew it.
Sorry, I had to.
You have to sing it, Peter. You have to sing it.
Absolutely not.
Fine.
Absolutely not. Oh, that'd be so bad.
That would be so good.
All right, go. What's your second one?
What do you call fake spaghetti?
Fake spaghetti? What?
An impasta.
It's always a good one.
I forgot that one. All right, Justin, go.
All right. What kind of shoes do frogs wear?
Did you just look that up?
No.
A frog joke?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. It's on my list.
It's on my list. What?
What kind of shoes do frogs wear?
What?
Open-toed sandals.
Open-toed sandals.
That's awesome.
That's a good one.
Okay, next one.
All right. What did the alien say to the landscaper?
Wait, one more time? I missed that.
What did the alien say to the landscaper?
What?
Take me to your weeder.
You're good at these, Justin.
All right. I'll wrap up.
It's like Peter's favorite segment, so you get really good at the delivery.
Yeah, seriously. What kind of pants do ghost hunters wear?
Invisible?
No, just a pair of normal pants.
Oh, there we go.
You guys.
I was literally like, "Yep, okay, that makes sense." Yeah. Okay.
All right, my last one's more of a one-liner, but I'll say it anyways. My teacher told me that I'd never amount to much because I procrastinate too much. I told her, "You just wait and see."
That's a good one.
And that wraps up dad jokes. All right, well, Rebecca, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us on the latest episode of Actions on Point podcast. Truly enjoyed it. Just out of curiosity, if people want to, kind of follow you, stay in touch and learn more about you, where can they go to do so?
I'd love that. Website is infinitesuccessstrategies.com or find me on LinkedIn. Let's start a conversation. Thank you so much for having me. What a great hour this has been.
Of course. And Justin, as always, thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you.
And to close out, thank you again to Zactus for sponsoring today's episode. And to all of you, we know your time is valuable. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Actions on Point podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, be well, my friends.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time at the Acuma On Point podcast. If not already, be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. For more great episodes and information, be sure to visit us online at acuma.org. And to get the latest updates, head over to our LinkedIn page.